So we have seen crypto, blockchain, NFTs in the news a lot lately. And one of the biggest things to happen was the merge and the birth of Ethereum 2.0, with the Ethereum blockchain moving from proof of work to proof of stake. So for anybody who watching who just didn't understand that sentence, if you can maybe explain what that means, and then also, what does that mean for the industry? What are people, how is that changing conversations?
Yeah, I think, and I'll try to keep it super high level, right? I think, the first thing to understand is that the Ethereum blockchain, that kind of underlying technology, we sometimes call it a layer one, in the blockchain space, it's the most ubiquitous layer one network in the blockchain space, meaning more tokens, more activity happens on top of Ethereum than really any other network. And this change, this version 2.0 that came to life via the merge. I'll just talk about the benefits of it, right? One of the key parts, and you mentioned this, it goes from a proof of work to a proof of stake type model. I'll just say the benefits are that transactions can happen much quicker than they did prior. Those transactions need a whole lot less energy to be executed on, right? If everybody's aware of the crypto space, sometimes it has taken some heat for the amount of energy, power that it takes from the grid to create transactions. The cost of those transactions goes down tremendously. So the actual cost of minting an item, an NFT, say on the Ethereum blockchain, or me sending Ethereum based asset to Chris, the cost of that goes down. So all the key attributes of the Ethereum network have changed dramatically. And I think while everybody has known this and has been thinking about this, it still remains to be seen what that means, right? Like what happens? Does more activity happen on chain? Is one of the key pushes. Does Ethereum grow more quickly as the ubiquitous, kind of layer one solution? Because I will say there are some other blockchain kind of core technologies that are quite popular too, right? So it'll be interesting to see how it all sorts out, but it's definitely a huge step forward for the industry, and it's appeared to, at least to date, gone fairly smoothly.
Where does VCORE sit in the sustainability area?
So you know what, all of our assets, whether it's VCOIN, the NFTs, or VCORE, we've taken an approach that we think minimizes the impact on the environment or energy sources, or honestly gives our users the best benefits, meaning super fast transactions, the ability to use the assets they've just purchased or earned, and of course low cost transactions as well. This happens, I think, two key ways. One is that because a majority of our transactions today happen inside our metaverse, we can do those transactions off chain, which means we're not hitting the native or the primary, say, Ethereum network, and incurring all those extra costs or time or energy use, at least prior to the merge. And so when off-chain activity happens, it can be very quick, very low cost, and very sustainable. That's true with NFTs as well. When things are done off-chain, or in this case with NFTs, we've partnered with a company called Immutable, which has a layer 2 solution, which allows, again, for transactions to happen not on the layer 1 platform like Ethereum, but on, in a sense, on a layer above that. And so again, transactions are quick and low cost and very easy. That's awesome for our platform. Same will be true with VCORE. A lot of transactions will happen off platform or off chain. But then I think, as we just mentioned, with Ethereum 2.0 being out there and it's easier to interoperate between other blockchain technologies, that more and more over time, this discussion about the limitations of your blockchain will kind of fade to the back, if that makes sense, right? We'll kind of move on, right? Almost like with the internet, as connection speeds became quicker, or processors were quicker, the kind of things web developers used to worry about kind of faded away because all of a sudden there was plenty of processing power. I think we're going to see that same thing happen here in the blockchain space.
So in the long term, when it comes to energy consumption of the blockchain, you think that's something that's going to be alleviated?
I think it is. I think it will. I mean, especially as it grows, a smaller and smaller percent of blockchain-based transactions will happen on those energy, heavy networks, right? and then even around kind of, core platforms like Bitcoin, there's other networks and layer 2 solutions that are trying to make transactions there more efficient. But yeah, the whole industry has known and has been working towards, kind of better and better technology, if you will, that alleviates some of those early issues, right? It really is a technology and a space that is evolving very quickly. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, that'll just
Because I work with a lot of clients who have net zero goals for 2025 and 2030. And with all these new technologies coming into play, Metaverse, XR, blockchain, Web3, these hadn't actually been considered in their initial kind of plans. So it's
yes,
interesting for people to be like, oh, wait a second, things have actually evolved so fast that there's new considerations. And I
for
think
sure.
it's important for people to make sure that they're not just offsetting or greenwashing, and that they're actually really considering the impact.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. It's like, how do we head towards more and more, kind of, in our case, growing this economy in this metaverse, having more and more participation of our users around the world, but to your point, also doing it the right way, right? Whether that's energy or cost or revenue sharing with users, just all those aspects I think are really important. And our user base too, I'll say, is very vocal. It's not just a crypto centric user base or one who's just focused on monetizing everything. So we've even had creators that earlier on, wanted to know that we were headed towards a very sustainable approach with our, say, in this case, NFTs, because of things that they had heard about various blockchain technologies. So it's important.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about your company is that you really do value that feedback. And I think you do some kind of like you tested the integration of NFTs and crypto before you even launched it. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. In fact, we did kind of some off-platform sales of NFTs where, and some collaborations with some great brands where we sold items that you'd purchase, on some third off-platform marketplace, but then you could bring those items into the IMVU marketplace. We did a sale over in Decentraland, so another metaverse, and those items that were purchased could then be used by your avatar inside IMVU. And that was a great way to get feedback. And then, of course, we talked to our users, our community. And while some of them, maybe initially didn't understand NFTs, or even at times maybe had a little bit of they were a little bit cautious around NFTs. When we talked about the benefits of NFTs, true ownership, ability to resell those items, gift those items to other users on the platform, or control over the items that you create, they all love the benefits. So sometimes it's not necessarily, it's more about the benefits and what it enables than it is maybe the, new jargon that's been created by a new space.
I think it's so fascinating too. The creators that you have on your space, a lot of them are actually making a living by doing things inside IMVU. I think there's like even a modeling agency, and there's people creating clothing. Wondering if you could share a bit more about them.
Yeah, no, our creators and earners on our platform, really just the broader community, everybody has an opportunity to engage at whatever level they want. And some, to your point, have engaged so deeply that the economy that they've built, or the businesses that they've built on platform, that's their full-time job. They've quit jobs in the real world to run, whether it's a nightclub on the platform that's open, 5 nights a week, or to your point, a service-based business that's helping other users dress up and, kind of express themselves via their avatars, or, platforms around modeling, or helping you share your avatar's experience on social platforms. There's all kinds of cool businesses that are cropping up, really unlimited, and the creativity of our community just continues to kind of take it to the next level, if you will, right? And we have over 200,000 active creators and earners, and thousands of those users actually earned money that they can spend in the real world, so they can convert it into cash, fiat currency. Or, of course, everybody has the opportunity to earn assets, whether it's crypto-based assets or credits on the platform, could then be spent in the economy as well, right? So a lot of users don't necessarily want to convert that money into real cash, but they'll use that money back into the platform, right, to buy things from other users and creators.
To your point around, why users want to engage on our platform, it's that freedom. that flexibility, it's that ability to be a part of a community and engage in the ways that you want to engage. And as John said, participate as much as you want to participate or as little as you want to participate.
Yeah.
And for some folks, that means being able to make a living on the platform. That's a pretty cool opportunity to have.
Absolutely. And I love the idea too that people can kind of scale a business from nothing. You go onto a
Yes.
platform, you have the tools to create something, and you don't need to get a loan from the bank. You don't
True.
need to have necessarily gone to college for all these kind of things, and you can scale a business. I think that's really inspiring. And I think it's also a model of how our entire kind of economy is moving, especially with Gen Z entering the workforce and Gen Alpha already making money on the internet
Mhm.
through these platforms. I think it's really interesting. I wanted to touch on, I have to ask, so we have seen a lot of volatility in the crypto and NFT space this year, and wanted to know your opinion about why that is occurring and what it's going to take for the market to become more reliable and sustainable.
Big picture perspective, if you really step back, we are 2009, 13 years into this experiment. And so you're going to have a lot of businesses. We're learning, we're testing, we're trying to figure out, what this will look like in the long term. And so you're going to see projects that succeed and see projects that fail, see projects that succeed for a time and then fail. And we've seen this already multiple times since the advent of Bitcoin, where we have these ups and downs in the market. But the market isn't necessarily indicative of the space itself. Just come here to Token 2049 and you'll see that the energy levels, the attendance, the number of projects, both new and old, that are here continues to grow, and excitement is through the roof. And so, as you think about it, just paying attention to the markets itself might not be the best way to evaluate kind of where things are with crypto.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. And I think, I'll just kind of hone in on kind of one part of the ecosystem, which is the NFT space, right? Where we've had, an NFT sold for $60+ million, at one time, not us, but on the broader ecosystem has, all the way down to items that are sold just for a few dollars. And I think what happened in a lot of cases, there's a lot of speculation and excitement, and high dollars came into the space and really kind of hyped it up. And I think it was pretty awesome, and it really created a lot of awareness and a lot of great investment and kind of innovation. But I think as the market, you kind of asked how will the market settle down and kind of find more of a steady state. I think it will happen as we kind of move into kind of integrating into real experiences, right? So, and IMVU and what MetaJuice is doing with IMVU is really a good example of that, where our expectations are not that people are buying, digital items for their avatars for thousands of dollars. Now that may well happen, but that is not the core model. The core model is that an item that on average might cost $1 to $2 might all of a sudden cost $3 or $4, right? Or will encourage users, maybe it's even at the same price it used to be purchased at before it was an NFT. But now it's actually got new capabilities because you can earn it. You can actually own it, resell it, give it to a friend on the platform. And so just like in the real world, there's some items that are truly unique. There's some pairs of sneakers, right? Shoes that might be worth actually, $2,000 if resold. And there's other pairs of shoes that are probably worth $3 if resold. And I think that'll be true in this virtual world as well, that we'll find kind of that equilibrium or that more steady state experience where, a majority of items are just owned and can be resold. And then some very few items are more collector items or, potentially could appreciate price.
I also think it's interesting the concept of like building degradation into NFTs. So, a shirt that I buy this season, by next season, it's looking a bit raggedy or something, or I need to go buy a new one. I think that's a coming thing to the NFT world as well. But to expand on what you're saying, what I think is really important and kind of the bigger picture of that is inclusivity. So I think that's been one of the criticisms of kind of the crypto market and community in the past, was that it seemed like it was kind of like a bit exclusive, a bit for people who had expendable income or expendable money. And I think that's why it's taken a while for just regular folk to kind of understand what it meant for us, like where we stand to benefit from all this. And when we're talking about things that are actually affordable and have value and benefit in these spaces, I think that really expands the accessibility to these technologies, which I think is so important.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. I appreciate you sharing that because we don't necessarily always talk about it from that angle. And I'll even add, to your theme of accessibility. I think another key thing that has made the space somewhat feel exclusive. To your point, is that technically at times, at least in the past, the core crypto approach had been very complicated. It might be 22 steps to actually go purchase an NFT item or play this unique, funky game. And so not only did you maybe have to have disposable income and lots of time, but you have to be kind of really technically savvy to figure it out and kind of put the puzzle pieces together. And that might be neat and fun a little bit at some level, but it's not mainstream and it doesn't speak to inclusivity. And if you want to have a huge user base, millions and millions of global users engaging, say in this new metaverse or in this new economy, you're going to need to make all those walls, those hurdles fall down, right? So that it's much easier to engage with. So yeah, I think you're picking up on a key theme that's super important.
I'll throw one thing in there though as well to keep in mind. This is the adoption and uptake of a new technology, and if you think about large technological advances of the past, we're doing pretty fine in terms of overall uptake and overall adoption. Technologies, particularly new technologies that really move the needle forward, can often take multiple decades for mainstream adoption. And so kind of stepping back and out of the day to day, big picture wise, NFTs are probably the first use case for crypto that was broad and mainstream enough that a lot of people can get their heads around it. And I think we'll see more of those things as we continue to develop this industry.
One thing that must be a big topic at Token 2049 is around regulation. So there's different regional laws and different takes on regulation globally. Wondering if there's some locations that are taking these more lax approaches to regulation, if that means that they have an advantage or a disadvantage. How sustainable is this? What does the future of global regulation and regional regulation kind of look like, and what are people talking about?
Yeah, no, I think it's still, especially in kind of the conversations that we're in, it's still a super important topic. And again, long term, you hope it's not as important, or it's less discussed because it's well understood at some point, right? The tricky part today is that the rules and regulations in a lot of cases aren't well understood, aren't well documented, or there just aren't any, right? And so it's hard for companies, for projects, for crypto assets to really behave well in these markets. I think you talk about various countries and regions having different approaches. What we find is that the regions that are really leading in this crypto space, or the countries that are, it's not from being lax; it's from being clear and well understood. So I'll take a market like Singapore. They've been very progressive in not being lax. You have to be very professional in the way you work and do business in this region, in this country, in Southeast Asia. But they've actually defined the rules, which has been super helpful for companies. I think we all, 98% of us want to follow all the rules. We just need rules to follow, and that's what the countries or regions that are leading in the space are the ones that are doing that, right? And when a country doesn't define the rules of the road, if you will, right, or how crypto assets are meant to behave, that's what really stifles innovation and doesn't allow people to do things properly. So that's what we're big fans of. We want to help, and as folks may know, MetaJuice and IMVU, we work directly with the SEC in the U.S. To earn a crypto no action letter, just the third crypto no action letter that kind of defines a new blueprint for an asset like VCOIN.
Can you explain, sorry, what a no action letter is for people who don't know?
Yeah, for sure. So it's in this case, it's we requested, it's called relief, but really it's an understanding. We asked the SEC to allow our VCOIN token, if it behaved in a certain way, to be considered not a security, And then they replied back with this no action letter that says, yes, if you kind of follow these rules or these guidelines for your token, your asset called VCOIN, then in general, the SEC would consider that not to be a security. And that's one of the key kind of definitions or statuses that you need for your token to be widely accessible to U.S. users. And in this case, it's kind of the gold standard of regulatory guidance or approval, so that really VCOIN, that asset, could be used by just about any of our users around the world. So that is one case where the regulations or the approach, in this case, this no action letter, really does define quite well what an asset needs to look like to stay in bounds. Right.
Right.
There's probably a lot more opportunities to do that with other assets, and the whole space is just hoping for that, right? And willing to help if regulators or others would like, input from the industry. It's a very vocal industry, as you might imagine. Yes.
Well, to expand on that, when it comes to VCORE, what has been the journey there? Like, how has it developed? Where is it at today? What can we expect from it in the near future?
The one thing I think, and I'll just kind of speak to our approach, and then Chris can share a little more detail, is that we've always engaged with the broader ecosystem, not only our users, but the broader kind of blockchain ecosystem, to pressure test our approach to the market or to give us feedback. So VCORE, this very unique kind of almost meta token for the token for the metaverse, has really been shaped by the industry that we've engaged with too, to understand kind of what will work, what in the past hasn't worked, and the right way to do this. So as kind of the definition of what VCORE is and will be has changed over time, it's been because we've been engaged in the market, right, and talking to everybody and really trying to learn about where we think this is all headed.
Follow on what John is saying. We reached out to some of the smartest people in the space to get their advice, their input, bring them on as supporters of the project, and we've been really fortunate. We've got great supporters like Animoca and Bitcraft, one of the leading game VCs in the world, and folks at Immutable, who've gone through their own listing and helped to define their own token, have been really valuable for us, as well as a number of additional players as well. So we've just gone as far and wide as we could to get the type of guidance and information that was going to help us make VCORE the most useful for those who are using it on our platform. And so, where we go now, soon it'll be available to folks internationally, and it'll be available on the platform to use for NFTs and buy and sell goods. And so we couldn't be more excited about kind of what the future holds, because of all the things that we discussed earlier in terms of the added utility and value that it provides for our users on the platform.
And watch this space, because I hope to be able to announce when it finally launches. So,
For sure.
What is your biggest takeaway from Token 2049?
You know what? My big takeaway is that every time we, kind of get out of the home office and come engage in person with the ecosystem, we learn something, we build new relationships, and we probably even help, back to the last question, we probably even help kind of shift our strategy slightly to be a little bit more on course. So whether it's Token 2049 or other kind of well-chosen, crypto, blockchain, or industry, get-togethers, this is certainly worth it. And we're super happy to have made the very long flight and fought through a little bit of jet lag to engage with our friends and our ecosystem to kind of move things forward.
And for me, I think the big takeaway is, we're in the midst of the so-called crypto winter, but crypto and blockchain is definitely not dead. There is so much excitement about what the future holds. There's so much innovation taking place, and there's so many smart people that are continuing to be attracted to the space, that the future for the industry as a whole is as strong as it's ever been.
And you just touched on something great, which is, this isn't going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger, and the value of it and what it can offer people is only going to grow. And I love that about the industry, is that it is developing at such a pace, but it's also learning and adapting so fast. So I think that's really quite exciting. So if people want to get involved or get in touch, what's the best way for them to reach you?
The best place to start probably is to go to, MetaJuice website, and or search for, VCORE online, and you can find that kind of website as well. We're also available, we have, as you might imagine, we really engage with our community, both in Discord, um, on Twitter, on Instagram. So you can find us just about anywhere, right? I'd say a great place too, if anybody wants to kind of get a taste of the metaverse, if it's their first time or they've been on other platforms, to really check out the IMVU application. And it's available in the Apple iOS stores, in the Google Play stores, and you can also download IMVU for your desktop, your PC, or your Mac.
MetaJuice.com, at MetaJuice, on this Twitter, LinkedIn, Discord, we're everywhere.
I'll be sure to include the links in the show notes, and you can always find
Great,
me in IMVU too. I have a really hot avatar, so we can, if anybody wants to have a discussion or hang out there, we can make a date to do that. So thank you guys so much for your time today and for sharing your insights and knowledge with me. And thank you all so much for watching. And please be sure to tune in next time for a special discussion around building inclusivity into the blockchain, Web3, and the metaverse. Thank you so much and take care.